revisit that page that you've just created, have it hang somewhere where you see it all the time, so you're constantly reminded that if I do these actions, then this day was a success. So success is not about what we achieve, it's about who we become in the process. Before I started my business journey, I read a book called The 33 Strategies of War. And in that book, there's a strategy called the death ground strategy, which is about burning your boats, just like Hernan Cortez did when he wanted to conquer the Aztecs. What if we simply take it as, okay, this is a learning lesson. We can see why this book didn't do well if we really take the time to analyze. So that's one thing I think is important as well, because insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. If you got this one thing, then I believe you will succeed with publishing. In this video, I will talk about something that I believe is a lot more powerful than any niche research video or Amazon ads video. And you can watch those videos, those are great. However, if you're missing this one component, then I believe your growth will always be limited. So this video is unscripted, but it's a video that I want to make because it's something that is relevant in my own life. So I will begin with how this video came to be. So yesterday I was talking with a mastermind group that I'm a part of, and I did a presentation on building a personal brand, which is what I'm doing now. And it makes sense that I talk about publishing because it's what I've been doing for the majority of my adult life. I started when I was 21 and I'm turning 30 very soon. So it makes sense that I talk about publishing because it's where I can be most useful. And we talked about what is it that makes you not succeed with a personal brand. And one thing that came up was inconsistency. And what that means is that you post videos or you start with your personal brand, but then you stop. And what happens? The people that are following you, they are following you in the beginning because they see you're posting videos, but then when you stop and you start again, they have probably lost a little bit of trust, or they have moved on to other creators. So it's about 4 a.m. in the morning now, and I want to imagine that we're about to take a 100-mile march or a 100-mile walk. So let's imagine that we got tent and everything with us. We're ready. We're gonna stay a couple of nights, and let's first imagine that we're doing it this way. So today it's nice weather, so let's say that we're gonna walk 20 miles. But then what happens tomorrow, since we start off very strong, we might realize that our body doesn't feel that good. So maybe tomorrow the weather continues, it's very nice. However, we will only be able to do 3 miles because we really feel that there's something going on with our joints and it doesn't feel right. So what happens? We lost a day of nice weather, and maybe this continues for 2-3 days where we can only walk 3 miles because we started so strongly. And then what happens? We start to feel refreshed. However, we get some bad weather. And what do? How we say we stay in our tents. We wait until the weather is better. And then what happens? The weather, it goes on for 2-3 days, and then, okay, we can continue. And then we face very good terrain. So we decide, hey, we're gonna walk 30 miles today. And we do. However, the next day we face bad terrain. And since we're sore again and we don't feel that good, we decide, okay, we're just gonna walk, let's say 1 mile per day in this terrain. Hopefully you can see that what we've just described is a very inconsistent way of getting to our 100-mile destination. Now, let's take another example. Let's imagine that we commit to walking 10 miles every day, no matter what. Now, the weather can be bad, the terrain might be bad, and we might feel that some days we can walk more. However, we stay disciplined, because sometimes discipline is not only doing super much, but it's also about having constraints, about not overextending ourselves. So we know that we can do 10 miles every day, no matter the terrain, no matter the weather, and we just do that. What happens? Within 100 days, we will have reached our destination. And this concept, it comes from the book Great by Choice, which is my favorite book. It has many different concepts about what makes businesses succeed and what makes businesses not succeed. Or rather, what is it that separates these businesses that achieve 10 times results compared to those that only grow average. And one of the concepts is the 10-mile march. And I will go into why this is so powerful, not just from a business perspective, but also from a personal perspective, and even from a spiritual perspective. So let's talk about how I've been inconsistent in my own life and what happened when I was inconsistent. So we can see the contrast to when I did start to be consistent. So when I started working, I worked a lot of different jobs. I worked in sales, customer support, I cleaned a gym, I did dishes for free because I was looking to get a job there. And I worked in a metal factory, I worked in a fish factory. So I did all these different jobs. I did more than that as well. And the results, sure, I made money, especially from sales, but the results were inconsistent. And I'm not regretting anything. I learned a lot of valuable lessons from that, and I learned to work hard. And I'm super grateful that I did those jobs, because now I contrast that with publishing and I realize that this is a piece of cake. And this inconsistency, it continued when I started my business journey. So the first business I started was a web shop. Then I started another business where I cold called companies in Sweden. And then eventually I stumbled into publishing. And I did publishing for 6 months. I realized that this works. I saw results. If you've heard my story, you know I made $5,000 within 6 months. However, what happened after? My habit of being inconsistent continued. And what did I do? I faced some challenges in publishing, and then I started looking for other things. So I started doing other online businesses. And what happened? My income from publishing went down, and I didn't see any results from my other ventures. And before I started my business journey, I read a book called The 33 Strategies of War. And in that book, there's a strategy called the Death Ground strategy, which is about burning your boats, just like Hernan Cortez did when he wanted to conquer the Aztecs. And that strategy very much resonated with me, because I didn't have much to lose. I was working in the fish factory, and I was dreading almost every day. I remember looking at the clock, and the clock was going so slow. And I contrast that with my life now, which is the complete opposite. I want the time to go slower. However, it just seems to run away. It's like 1 year feels like 1 week. But let's go back to what I did. So I burned the boats in the sense that I said that I will start a business and I'm not allowed to do anything else than to start the business. So I had 6 months of savings, and that's what I did. I bought a house in a new city where I didn't know anyone, and then I started my business journey. And that obviously worked, because eventually I stumbled into publishing. And even before that, I was self-reliant with the cold calling business. So that's what I did when I got back to publishing. So after those 6 months of strain, I said that I will get publishing to work, or I will go under in the process. And when you make a commitment like that, it's very powerful. And when I look back, when I've had the most success, it's when I've done those types of commitments. So I will make a commitment to you now. I've already made this commitment to my mastermind, but I want you to know this as well, and you to keep me accountable. So I've made a commitment to make 100 videos before I make any type of assessment whether or not to continue. Because unless we get enough data with what we're doing, then we're not going to know if what we're doing works or not. So for example, I think 20%, if you want to be in the top 10% or maybe even top 1% of podcasters in the world, I think you just need to make 20 podcasts or something like that. So a lot of the issues when it comes to failure is simply due to a lack of consistency and a lack of commitment. And I do believe in these videos, as I'm trying to help my younger self, and I'm making these videos with a pure intention of being of value. So I think that eventually people will realize, and sure, I could show proof through every video, and that is something that I most likely should do more of, because I think what I've done is quite unique in terms of the results that I've been able to achieve with publishing. But we will see. But if you want to support this channel, then something you can do that doesn't cost you anything is hit the like button. It lets me know that I'm on the right track with the videos, so I'd really appreciate that. So let's go back to consistency. So one of my favorite quotes is by Thomas Edison when he invented the light bulb. He said, "I've not failed, I simply found 10,000 ways that don't work." And what if we take that approach to publishing? So when we're publishing the books and it doesn't go the way we want it, then what if we simply take it as, okay, this is a learning lesson. We can see why this book didn't do well if we really take the time to analyze. So that's one thing I think is important as well, because insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. So we don't want to be consistent with the wrong thing. We want to constantly learn what it is that we did well and what it is that we can do better. So that's another thing in and of itself, learning. How can we stay committed with learning? So one thing that I've committed to is reading 10 pages every day. And that is similar to the 10-mile march, because really I can't make an excuse not to read 10 pages a day. And maybe for you it's studying publishing for 10 minutes every day or 20 minutes every day, watching videos or listening to videos as you're doing the dishes or driving in the car or whatever it is you're doing. That's what I did. For example, when I was doing menial tasks or easier tasks in the publishing business, I would often put on a YouTube video and listen to that in 2x speed as I was working on my publishing business. Because we don't know what we might hear or what piece of information might transform the business. And what I like about learning is that, yes, you might learn something or hear something in this video or in other videos that might not be applicable to you right now. However, what are the benefits that maybe in the future it will be applicable? And even if you know this stuff, getting reminded of it is very powerful. So I often go back to the books that I like, for example, Great by Choice, because that is the base of a successful business, in my opinion. So going back and repeating certain lessons or certain concepts, it never hurts. And publishing, it's your own race. We're not racing against each other, we're racing with ourselves. So maybe your pace is 1 book per month, or maybe it's 1 book per year. It doesn't matter. The most important thing that I see is that we make a schedule and we stay consistent with it. So if we take the example of the 10-mile march, in book publishing, that would be having a certain amount of books that we publish. So instead of publishing 10 books this month and then waiting for 3 months, we simply spread those out so we publish them consistently. And now I will go into why this is so powerful, not just for your brand, which I highly advise you to start building, especially if you're making over $1,000, but even when it comes to working with the freelancers that you're working with. So let's say you have a writer and that writer is producing great work, then what happens if you stop working with that writer? If you're not being consistent, then that writer might look for another client, and what happens? You have to put out another job post looking for another writer, and then you might need to test, and some of them might fail, some of them might be inconsistent, and it might take you a while until you find a writer that is just as good as the great writer that you had but lost because of inconsistency. So when it comes to the brand, it's very powerful because let's say you're a reader, then if I know that, okay, every month I will receive a new book from this particular brand, then I know, okay, it takes me about a month to read. I'm interested in this topic. I don't need to look for any other producer or any other publisher or any other author, because I know that they have my back, they have my need when it comes to this topic. And this also goes for your personal habits in your publishing business. So let's say you're in a phase where you're writing your own books, then writing consistently, committing to 1,000 words every day, for example. That's what I did when I was writing. Instead of, okay, now I feel some inspiration, I will do 5,000 words, and then maybe it will go a week until you feel inspiration again. And that is a very inconsistent way of doing things. So we ideally want to structure everything that we're doing, whether it's niche research, whether it's building a landing page, whatever it is. We want to be consistent and we want to break it down. So whatever project we have, we break it down into action steps. And once we know the action steps, then we're able to see, okay, I need to do this, this, and this to build a landing page. So let's say the first day, I'm simply going to commit to learning how to build a landing page. The second day, I'm going to make some tests. I'm going to buy this software. Then the day after that, I'm going to start building a little bit. And then the day after that, I will continue building, etc. And then, yeah, okay, it might take you 4 or 5 hours to build a landing page, but it's much harder to say, okay, I'm going to carve out 4 or 5 hours to build a landing page compared to simply saying, okay, I will do 30 minutes today, 30 minutes tomorrow, 30 minutes the day after that, etc. So in essence, break down everything that you want to achieve into action steps, and then do those steps, lay them out in the plan, lay them out in the schedule, and work on them consistently. The last thing I want to cover in this video is the power of your language. So when you're saying words such as I will try, this is something that a lot of freelancers, it's something that I did as well, which is why I'm so hard when I hear this word. But when I hear a freelancer say I will try, I know that they're probably not going to be on time. So what I usually said, especially if they've been working with me for a long time, avoid saying the word try. Say I will or I will not. And because if we use the word try, then we're not doing the death ground strategy. We are not fully committed because there's always a way out. And I think that this stems from the fear of failure. So if we're afraid of failing, if we think that there's a possibility that we might fail, then we will use this type of language. Instead, what we can say is that I will, or I am. And when we affirm like that, we're not giving any way out for our self-esteem or for our self-image. Because what happens if we say, I will try, then yeah, okay, at least I tried. I wasn't that committed, so it wasn't that important. So if you're doing publishing, if you're still in the game, you haven't lost, even if your books aren't giving you the results you want. So simply stay consistent, say I will make it. You might be one book away from having everything change. So simply stay in the game, keep publishing, and use your language in a way where you don't have any way out. And remember, do the thing in your own pace. It's better that you do a little bit every day or every week, and then to do these massive sprints where you're not able to stay consistent and get consistent results or make consistent progress. So in terms of your personal life and your spiritual life, I believe that this is one of the best things to build self-esteem, is when you make a promise to yourself and you keep it. So even if you've done like I did, stayed inconsistent in the past, this is your opportunity to change. Take this video as a sign and start writing down not only your goals, but also the action steps that you will take. And remember the 10-mile march, do a little bit every day or every week and stay consistent with it. Revisit that page that you just created, have it hang somewhere where you see it all the time, so you're constantly reminded that if I do these actions, then this day was a success. So success is not about what we achieve, it's about who we become in the process. And I'm telling you that being consistent and having that quality, it's one of the best feelings in the world. So I will keep enjoying the nature over here, and I'm wishing you all the best. Go get it. Thanks for watching.